Okay, today what I'm going to do is go through something that is extremely controversial, which is the topic of abortion. And I am not comfortable having a discussion about it in class because I know that this issue can have a lot of controversy, right? That people on both sides have very strong opinions, and that some people might even have second or first-hand experience with this issue and have strong opinions on one side or the other because of that. So I want to treat this topic very sensitively, but this Texas abortion law that has come out is all over the news. And as a current events teacher, I cannot not talk about it. And what I'm going to try to do today with this is show you a little bit about what lateral reading is, even though I won't use the word. I'll just see what you are doing. I'll give you a chance to do lateral reading without you actually being told what it is yet. So here we go. So if you're looking at the topic of abortion itself, obviously it's a very sensitive, touchy subject. So what I'm going to try to do is give a historical overview without putting my bias or my point of view about it, my opinion about it in here, just give you some facts. When you think of the Supreme Court in abortion, you might think of Roe versus Wade, but it actually goes back even further than that, 10 years before, in a court case called Griswold versus Connecticut. It might have been 8 years before Roe versus Wade. Anyway, but even before that, there were, in the late 1800s and even up into the early 1900s, there were these laws called the Comstock laws, named after Anthony Comstock, who was a moral crusader. And what he did was he tried to make it illegal to send things that he thought was obscene through the mail, through the federal post office. So there's a lot of other things, a lot of other moral crusades that he went on. And we could go into that later, but you can see here, 19th century, late 1800s, Comstock laws were named after Anthony Comstock, and they made it illegal to distribute, quote unquote, pornographic material through the mail. What that meant at the time was not what people today would consider pornography, but back then in the 1870s, 1880s, 1920s, it meant contraceptive information. And if you don't know what a contraceptive is, it's a various means or method to stop pregnancy from happening, even though there is sexual intercourse. So, birth control pills, they didn't have the birth control pills until the 50s, 1950s. So in this time period, we're really talking about condoms and so on and so forth, early forms of those. So fast forward to and this actually might be 1965. You might want to look that up. I was kind of off the top of my head a little bit there. I did try to look it up to refresh myself, but I can't remember. So fast forward to the Griswold versus Connecticut Supreme Court case of either 63 or 65. So what happened in this case was there was a business that was giving information about contraception. And at this point, it also had not just condoms, but also birth control pills. And a Comstock law type thing, even though it was at the state level, was in Connecticut, which basically said you can't use contraceptives. And these people challenged the Supreme Court, challenged the law, and it went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said there is a right to privacy. Now, understand that there was never before this, and I'm not making a value judgment here. I'm just saying this is true. There was never a right to privacy found in the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. There's no words in the Constitution that says there is a right to privacy. But what the Supreme Court did was said it's implied, or it emanates from the Constitution. Like it kind of comes in almost an invisible wave. Like you'd be silly not to think that there isn't a right to privacy, according to this Supreme Court case. I mean, think about it. The Third Amendment, no quartering of troops in your house. That implies that you have a right to have the privacy of your own home. No illegal searches and seizures. You have the right to privacy of your personal effects. So they say that there is a right to privacy, and that right to privacy extends to married couples regarding their private decision whether or not to use contraceptives in their family planning. So that was specifically about whether or not you can use birth control methods. And it was you have a right to privacy there. So fast forward to 1973, and the Supreme Court in the case Roe v. Wade, Roe was not her real name. That was like a Jane Doe kind of thing, kind of just to protect her privacy. The Supreme Court said that right to privacy not only exists, and not only exists for contraception, but also is expanded now. And remember, this was during the Nixon years, during a more conservative time, at least at the presidential level, presidential branch, that the right to privacy exists regarding terminating of pregnancies. And in this case, they said up through the first trimester, up through what is called viability. Now, viability means can the baby live outside the womb without the mother, being inside the mother? And that could extend up to like nowadays, like 20 weeks. There are babies that are halfway through their gestation that can live in an incubator outside the mother. So basically what they did was they kind of made this cutoff here, and they said 13 weeks-ish, the mother and the family have the right to privacy to determine this with their doctor up to 13 weeks. After this, there was an explosion of what we call culture war, conservative versus liberal, back and forth, and it became pro-choice, which was the side of allow there to be freedom of abortion through this, and maybe some people say even longer. And then there's a pro-life side that says, for in this particular case, let the baby live, let the fetus live. So that is, as you can imagine, very controversial. And here is Norma McCorvey. She was the Roe of Roe v. Wade. And she was an abortion rights activist. Sometime in the 90s, I think, maybe even the late 80s. It seems like she had some kind of religious conversion and actually started speaking out against what she did as a part of Roe v. Wade. Now, some people say that she was actually a part of, like, that she was paid by, pro-life conservative groups to do that, and so she wasn't really genuinely. I don't know the whole background there, but if you want to put a name to the case, there she is. She has been public about it. Ever since, the Supreme Court has gone back and forth. You'll read in a case. You'll read about a case just a little bit called Planned Parenthood versus Casey. There in the article that I've got for you, they have upheld Roe versus Wade, the principle behind it, but they have also recognized that there are reasonable limits. Every right seems to have a reasonable limit, right? Your freedom of speech, you can't just shout fire falsely in a crowded theater, or there might be a panic, right? You can't lie about public officials, freedom of the press, and expect to get away with it. You can't. There have been restrictions put on owning assault rifles, Amendment 2, et cetera, et cetera. And so the Supreme Court has said that there can be reasonable limits on the right to an abortion. So in the last 5 years, this Roe versus Wade case has been very has been debated back and forth. When President Trump nominated his Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, Supreme Court appointees, he nominated conservatives. And here's one. Amy Coney Barrett was the most recent one. She took the place of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was very, very liberal on this abortion issue. Amy Coney Barrett seems to be extremely conservative on this issue. And so, a lot of people are wondering, well, what's the future of Roe v. Wade? Is it going to be overturned, and so on and so forth? And there'll be no right to abortion. So that's the thing that's going on there. And now get to what's at stake here. What's in the current events news right now? Senate Bill 8 from Texas. It's now a law. It's not just in the Senate anymore. You'll see, Senate Bill 8 basically says we're going to restrict, in the state of Texas, we're going to restrict the right to privacy down to the first 6 weeks of a pregnancy. And that is, as you can imagine, causing an uproar of people on one side saying, no, we don't like that, and people on the other side saying, yes, we like that. And, social media, which, I guess that's what you do on social media. But what I want you to do is find out more about this thing. And you might even, it's not in this it's not in this article that I'm giving you, but you might want to look up this word if you want to do some extra research about it. Deputizing, the state of Texas seems to be allowing, I haven't looked much into it, so you might want to look into it for yourself, seems to be allowing individual people to kind of police this, so they can turn in people that are providing abortions before or after 6 weeks, and so on and so forth. And there's all sorts of challenges in the court going on right now. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. What I'd like you to do is go to Google Classroom and go to September 7th under classwork, and then you'll open this up and you'll see this. You're going to see daily news article summaries a lot in class, especially after we get through these next 2 weeks of teaching and learning. The general topic today, you can just type in Texas abortion law. Make sure it's in blue. Please make sure it's in blue. That helps me differentiate between what I typed in here and what you're typing. So please make it blue. I mean, if you want to make it red, fine. Just don't make it something I can't see, like black or yellow or white, right? Here's the article. Click on that article. Name of the source, you'll put Vox. Name of the article headline, you can just copy and paste that if you want. Author of the article's author is right here at the top. Bias of the source. I want you to just look up real quick. What is media bias box? Usually there's something. If you go to allsides.com, they will rate media sources. And so you can see here, they are on the left, they are liberal. So I would click on that just to get a couple details, write down a couple details here on that. And then to find the bias of the author, what's the perspective of the author? If you don't like the word bias, you can retype this to say perspective, and that's fine. Click on his name right there, and you can find out more about him. What's his perspective on this issue? And you can read through the article and kind of tell which side does he favor. Now, this next one, 50 relevant words of summary. This article, is not like 2 paragraphs, right? So I want you to summarize what it's saying in 50 words or more, no less, please. And look, there's a shadow docket is a word that I'd like you to put in there. What's that mean? You can put in Planned Parenthood versus Casey. You could put in Greg Abbott, these kind of terms. Talk about what the case does. Where is it? Effectively bans abortions after a 6 week of pregnancy. Something about this would be good in the summary. So just something about this in the summary. Just look through this, and it ends right there. Make sure you read the article. We're not going to do CNN 10 today because of how much this is. So again, I don't want you to feel you're okay to express your opinion. That's fine. Please make it school appropriate, obviously, no matter which side you're on. And you can also say that I'm not comfortable sharing my opinion, and that's okay too. I don't want to have a discussion yet on this because I don't know how everyone in the class will react. So if you will show me your reaction here, what you think about it, etc. And also, notice down here, this is getting into I don't use the phrase lateral reading, but this is a kind of skill that I want you to engage in down here. Okay, so thank you for your time, and let's go Bucks, go Buckeyes, yay.